I only have a single screen, so it's going to be a little bit hard to monitor the chat, but I will do my best. Let's get straight into it, and let me share my screen. This week's Makeover Monday. I don't even know what it is. Let's have a quick look. Here we go. It's been a bit of a busy, crazy time these last few weeks. So we have FDA inspections. US Food and Drug Administration. I'm sure a lot of people are aware of it ever since we've all had to learn about FDA approvals for vaccines and all that stuff. So, okay, so we have, foreign domestic inspections classification by fiscal year. So a bunch of line charts. Oh, there's a really funky pie chart as well, stacked bar chart, a map. Okay, so let's have a look what people created, and we're going to take one that's very recent, and we'll kind of work our way down the list. So Harry Cooney, welcome back to Makeover Monday. Let's see what his viz looks like. Okay, well that's quite large. Oh, because I've zoomed in. Okay, I'm just going to quickly check the chat. I don't know if anyone's even here, so hopefully you are able to join this earlier session. So Harry looks at how do inspection classifications compare. No action needed, voluntary action indicated, and official action indicated. Okay, so I guess blue is fine. Yellow is, well, there needs to be some work, and red is the bad stuff. Thankfully, much fewer, like a fraction of the inspections actually need official actions. Okay, and then it looks at how much of that is domestic, product type. Food and cosmetics seems to be, well, I guess that's most of the products, but also the ones that really affect most people. Okay, I really like it. I think it's nice and clean. I like having the filters on the left because I think people are very used to interacting that way and seeing all the filters together in one place. Filter options, I would maybe just leave a little comment to say, make a selection. I mean, it's kind of self-explanatory, but maybe it isn't. Yeah, but I like it. I don't really have much to say on this one. Very, very good job. Okay, so here we have one with a link. So let's go to the interactive version. Just double checking. Yeah, you guys can see. Oh, and there are some people online. Okay. Andy is there. Fazan and Enery. Okay, good job for getting up early or wherever you are. And this one isn't loading for some reason. Let me try that again. Here we go. An investigation into failure rates of US FDA inspections. Okay. I like that it's a bit more descriptive as a title. It's a bit complicated. An investigation into failure rate of inspections. That's quite a lot. Like, what does that actually mean? And is the dashboard the investigation? Or I guess so. But really, is it an investigation or is it a report of numbers? Because, yeah, let's have a quick look through this. So when we think back to Harry's dashboard previously, I really liked how he called out the three categories or three results. Quite obviously, here there are, I think even just bolding the abbreviation and maybe the description would make it stand out a bit more, because right now I'm looking at a lot of text that is all formatted the same way, and I'm tempted to just skim it and go straight to the visual. So maybe make that text pop a little bit more. So we have those three outcomes. In the following analysis, the percent of inspections resulting in OAI designations were determined. That is far too complicated. I would say speak the way you would communicate, or write the way you would communicate to people in everyday life. So, maybe just as simple as the following analysis. Determined for me is too big a word. I would say something else. The following analysis shows how many inspections resulted in official action having to be taken, or something like that. Like, just make it simple. No big words required. So worldwide, OAI results can be very common. Venezuela. Okay, there's something going on in Tunisia. But what I'm wondering is, what does the FDA have to do with the worldwide stuff? Because they're a US organization. Do they have any jurisdiction in Germany and Canada and Russia? I don't know. But that's what I'm wondering. Or is this the results of equivalent organizations in other countries? That's what I would like to know. I don't understand why we have a worldwide thing when we're looking at the US. Because it looks at it, the title promises me US FDA inspections. Lowest performing countries, again, why are they there? Why is this not focused on the US? US tends to have much lower OAI rates. Why? Here are the 5 lowest performing states and territories. So look at your axes. So we've got bar charts coming up there and then below in green and above, and they all have different percentages, but they all have the same width. So I would fix the axes across all the charts to make it consistent. Again, why are those the lowest performing ones? An indication would be great. There are big differences in the amount of failed inspections among the different product types and project areas. There are also differences between foreign and domestic companies. But is that an analysis, or is that just stating the obvious? So why is there a difference between the failed inspections, between the different product types and project areas? Like, why? That's what I would like to know. Because this just lists a lot of data, and it's interesting, but it's not really an investigation or an analysis. And then we have the individual companies. Okay, percentage of inspections classified as OAI, number of inspections. So I guess the moral of the story is, the more inspections there are, the more likely companies are maybe to comply, because after the first inspection having a poor result, you probably would fix a bunch of things. But again, this just describes the chart. It doesn't really give me anything I didn't already see. So again, I want to ask why. Okay, let's move on. Let's just skip a bit so that we don't have just the most recent. Takafumi participates every week, so let's do a review here. Percentage of products for which some action was indicated as a result of US food. Again, that's quite a mouthful. I would keep the titles much simpler. I think overall impression, yep, nice simple charts, but red and green. Let's do the colorblind test. Colorblind checker. I think it's this one here. Okay. So I like how clean it is and how consistent the approach is with, you've got the shaded area under the red line, you've got the green line at the top, or, below, depending on what it is. But I don't know what all these, I understand what drugs, food, cosmetics are, but what's biologics? What is devices? Like, because if it's Food and Drug Administration, what do they have to do with devices? Or is it devices that administer drugs and administer food? And what is domestic? Domestic is US, I assume, but that would be good to call out. Okay, this one doesn't work. That's not very good, is it? Colorblind checker. I don't know which one. I don't really want to test my own vision, so now I can see it, but I want to. Okay, upload an image. So I just want to. Oops, where did my mouse go? Here we are. We'll do that very quickly. Here we go. God. Okay. Oh. Okay. So let's see. Red, green, green blinds. Red blinds. Okay, let's open this simulator stuff. So now these colors are still distinct enough for somebody who has, I think we selected red blindness. But imagine if somebody says, oh, the red line and the green line, that's when the big issue appears, because if this is how you see the colors, so for me, with normal vision, the top line is like a mustard color and the bottom line is like a brownish gray. If someone says green and red, I don't know which one is which. So that's why we want to stay clear of using red and green in combination. And then, ideally still labeling the line, even if you just do the first one, you say NAI, or action indicated. So just labeling it once to remind people what the color means as they scroll through the visualization. Okay, let's move on. Let me just quickly check the chat. Okay. Oh, Andy's on the chat. I will let him communicate with all of you guys. So I'm not supposed to say guys, with all of you. Jas. Let's have a look at Jas's biz. Okay. Bolstering US public health. The FDA is responsible for blah. Okay. Is it bolstering US public health though? I don't know. If that's the case, then they're failing miserably. I don't know if you could equate drugs, biological products, medical devices to, food supply. Of course, you can equate that to public health, but I don't know if that, they're not saying that's their job, bolstering public health. So I'd be a bit careful with that title. Throughout the years, it should be the majority of inspections conducted by the FDA are within the US. Yeah, because that's where they are. Okay. Now, the bars are interesting, I guess. It confirms what you claim. What I would like to know is, why was there a dip? So why was it, for example, down to 81 or even 79%? What were they doing in that time? Were they doing more foreign inspections? And if so, why? So the change is what interests me, not so much the consistency over the years. 55% of the total inspections conducted within the US fall under food cosmetics. No, it's not that they fall under that product type, is they are inspections conducted for food and cosmetic products. Okay. Okay. Over the years, there was or has been a significant increase in the percentage of inspections that are classified into no action indicated. This means more and more firms are in compliance. The small font is a bit too small and the big font is a bit too big. I like that the keywords are called out, but I think it looks a bit clunky, because I'm thinking, oh, can I click on this, or why is this so big? So I would make that maybe just all normal font and just keep it in the bold and green, but make it a normal size font. Okay. So I like how clean this is. I'm not quite sure what to do with it. So it describes what those different outcomes or results are, but what does that mean, for example? So if I think about food in a restaurant, what would lead to an OAI result? Is it if there's rats in the kitchen, or are rats in the kitchen yellow, or are they green? I don't know. So I would like some examples, and then also, what do they have to do? So is there another inspection a month later, and if they don't comply, they have to close their business, or like putting it into real terms, especially because in your tweet you say, my focus is making the viz easy to read, yes, and being relatable. So make it a bit more relatable by putting examples in there if you can. I'm sure they can be Googled. Okay, Otto Richardson. Let's have a look at his viz. The sloppiest sector under FDA law. Okay, FDA inspections show companies selling misbranded or unapproved drugs. Okay, that has me interested because it's like, okay, they misbranded it, or it wasn't even approved, and it's drugs that we're taking maybe to fix a disease, or maybe it's preventative, and that sounds really dangerous. So I want to know more. I love this title, the sloppiest sector under FDA law. Okay, so okay, hang on. So the right-hand chart below shows the percentage of inspections that okay. So drugs compared to food and cosmetics are much smaller, but the percentage of the worst outcome is much higher. That's really interesting. Why are drug companies failing the inspections? So I would say make the drug companies, make that lowercase. It shouldn't really be. I think it's fine in the title to have it like all capital, but then in the smaller titles, it doesn't need to be. We can see the biggest reason for inspections failing, resulting in official action, is misbranded or unapproved drugs. Okay, so he dug further into the why, which I really like. I would suggest pushing your axis down so that these three charts on the bottom, they all start kind of on the same baseline. So you could remove the title for the axis, year of inspection, and make the charts kind of all start at the same level. You might have to put some padding around the other ones to bring them all up to the right level. Okay, so which companies have been misbranding their drugs? Oh, this is fun. Okay, what happens if does something happen? Coenzyme A, legal name. Okay. It doesn't always work. Oh, here we go. Cascadia Manufacturing. There are some pills that don't seem to work. I don't know if there's something over them, but most of them work. But that is really fun. So, if I click on something, it updates the top. Yeah. So click on a pill to reveal a company. Oh, I like that. I think that's a really fun way to be engaged because it's a bit like a puzzle or one of those brain games. Now, what I would suggest though is when I click on it, to get rid of those control buttons because they can easily make me do something dumb, but also they get a little bit in the way of then unclicking. But yeah, I really like this. I think this is really well done. Thank you, Otto, for your submission. Okay, let's skip a few more so we don't just have the most recent ones. This is something else. Frederick. Okay, let's have a look at Frederick's viz. Just double checking the comments. Okay, we've got 9 minutes left. Let's see what he has created. FDA inspections. So, simple title. I think the FDA is known enough for that to be good enough, but I would boost it a bit with some extra words. I also don't know what the stuff on the left is. There's those weird little dots. I don't know what they're for. Domestic inspections. Okay. Andy would probably know, but why are these boxes appearing? Is that, I guess it's not a text box, it's a field that dynamically updates. But when I hover, see, that kind of stuff needs to just be fixed by Tableau, that it doesn't appear. Okay, so there is zero description of any sort. Fred, I would write a short description of what this is about, mainly because otherwise you'll lose people so quickly because they just don't know why they should bother looking at this. So we've got domestic inspections, foreign inspections. I don't know where we have the step line chart. I don't quite know. Yeah. And then there's different lines in different colors, but the colors are not explained. And I know by now they're the different outcomes, but you need to really define those. There's an information button. Oh, so, okay, so you have described that stuff, but now I need to remember all of it before I go back. to the chart, and then I'm like, oh, what was yellow again, or orange again, what was blue again? So that information button, while the information is useful, it actually makes it harder for me to understand. Then if, for example, yeah, you've got it in the tooltips, but if somebody just looks at the image, they won't know. So I would put some of the stuff from the information button, like the classification, those different like emoji icon things, and the description in a bit of a nicer format in the chart itself. And I wouldn't, so in the description, it says, for example, overview of all domestic inspections over all the available years by classification. I've seen a bunch of charts that academics have built in research papers, and that's typically how they word things. Like it's very much a bunch of measures strung together into a sentence. You can do it that way, but it's not going to be very engaging. And one thing I like to remind myself of, whether it's building visualizations, which quite frankly I don't do that often anymore, but anything I produce in terms of content, is people are expecting a user experience much like they have with their phone. So it's meant to be easy, beautiful, delightful, nice surprises, all that kind of stuff. So when they look at a bunch of charts and that they don't help them understand what it's actually about because there's no descriptions, they will give up and they will move on. And that's a shame, because I think the quality of the visualizations is actually great. It's nice and simple. It just needs a little bit more words. And the line chart at the bottom is just too flat. So the ratio is off and the font is really small. So make those fonts larger, make the chart either a bit taller or more narrow. So you should have a ratio of about 3 wide, 2 tall. And this looks like it's about 5 wide and 2 tall. So yeah, let's move on. Let's see if we can do another couple. Okay, we've done line charts. Okay, let's look at Maya's. Okay, FDA inspections. Yep, total inspections, domestic inspections, foreign inspections. And there again, it would be useful to clarify that domestic means US, because it doesn't say US FDA inspections, it just says FDA inspections. So what is domestic, what is foreign? And I'm really interested in finding out, why are they inspecting other jurisdictions? And it could be that it's US companies in other countries or something, but I don't know. So that would be interesting to know. One thing I noticed on the left, so the rounded bar chart takes up a lot of space. Like there's a lot of white space, but there isn't really that much data. So for example, why is this so wide? It looks like there's something else going on. So, I can expand on the product type. Could do, but they're quite lengthy descriptions, and yeah, I don't know. I think that could be done a bit more elegantly. I think Andy has some video on expanding things so that they kind of hide and show. But yeah, when you just look at it at a high level, the font is quite small for the space it takes up, so I would adjust that. And then, okay, so over time, it shows the number of inspections. But I think in this data set, from the other visits I've seen, I don't know if the number of inspections is really all that interesting compared to what the outcomes are. So at the bottom right, it says no action indicated inspections. Yeah, okay, what does it mean? That means that in those states, the inspections had a really positive result. So, companies were doing well with food and safety and all that kind of stuff, like food safety, cleanliness, all those things that I'm sure factor into these assessments. But that's not even a chart, it's just a list with numbers and words. So I think that's the more interesting part of the story. And I would, describe that a bit more. Okay, let me do one more. Okay, here we have a map, so that one's a bit different. Stanley. Oh, this is quite large. Let me see if I can make it a bit smaller. Food and Drug Administration, domestic inspections in the US, 2009 to 2022. Again, we've got however many things were happening. And then there's a lot of text. So first thing I would do is break the text up into 2 columns, so on the left and then on the right. Um, and the definitions seem like they're taken from the FDA website or somewhere, which is fine, but they're really kind of formal and not easy to understand. And again, I would use some examples of, okay, if no action is required, what does that mean? Like, I can go there quite happily and eat in this restaurant, or you know, what does it mean for me as a normal person interacting with these companies buying their products? And then we have a map. So I really like the map. I like so the line chart makes it almost look like somebody tore off the paper, which I think looks cool, but of course that's not quite the purpose. So we've got the US states, and then okay, we've got that donut chart, which I think is okay because we've only got 3 categories, so that's probably not too bad. Um, I So what is the line on, okay, so it's inspection trend. Does that mean the number of inspections over time or the inspections with a certain outcome over time? Um, no, so total number of inspections over the year, it doesn't actually show up until you hover. So I would remove that from the little descriptor thing. And what's the Oh, I don't know if you need a trend line really. I think that's confusing because they at first I thought it was a 0 line, but it's not. New York has a lot of inspections because, of course, they have a lot of restaurants. So does California. So they're 23,000 inspections. Okay, so the axes all seem to be consistent. Yeah. Again, it just reports the numbers. I would really like a little bit more of what's the outcome. And then at the bottom, I don't know what this is. Number of inspections. So again, we're looking at the number of inspections in the map at the top, on the right side, and at the bottom. So it seems to be just a lot of different ways to show how many inspections were done. But I don't think that's the most powerful message because it really is about how many inspections had what result and then what happens afterwards, you know? So like somebody previously said, well, if you have more inspections, you're going to have a better result because I guess you're going to be kept on your toes. I also don't quite understand why there's this gray area behind the bars. The bars are really skinny, and then there's a gray area, which I guess is supposed to show the trend, but we can see that anyway with the length of the bar. So I would rethink if you need all these different ways of showing essentially the same information. And that is where I'm going to finish up today. I hope you found that useful. I see the chat was busy, and I hope that you guys all had a good that I hope that you all had a good opportunity to chat with Andy as well. And yeah, we'll see you again next week at the normal time, probably Wednesday, 6 p.m. I need to check my calendar, but things should be back to normal as I'm not on the road. So with that, have a great rest of your week and a nice weekend, and take care and speak to you all soon.